The restaurant was quiet in the way expensive places usually are. Conversations stayed low. Glassware clinked softly. Kobe Bryant sat at the table without drawing attention, dressed simply, posture relaxed, expression neutral. To most people in the room, he looked like another customer enjoying a normal night out. That anonymity was intentional. For once, the noise of expectation stayed outside. The table wasn't large, a few familiar faces. Easy conversation, nothing formal. Kobe listened more than he spoke, letting the moment remain ordinary. He valued these moments because they asked nothing of him. No performance, no leadership, just presence. A server approached with practice or confidence. Friendly, casual, comfortable enough to joke. As plates were set down, a remark slipped out, light, careless, meant to be funny. It wasn't cruel, it wasn't direct, but it landed heavier than intended. The joke circled the table for half a second, long enough to be understood, short enough to test reaction. Someone smiled instinctively, unsure. Another glanced down at their plate. Kobe didn't move. He didn't react. He didn't even change his posture. Silence followed, not awkward at first, just noticeable, the kind that grows louder the longer it lingers. Kobe's eyes stayed on the table. His face remained calm, unreadable. The joke wasn't challenged. It wasn't acknowledged. It was simply left alone. The server sensed the shift immediately. The confidence faded. An apology hovered, then disappeared. The moment passed outwardly, but something at the table had changed. Kobe finally looked up. Not at the server, at the people sitting with him. The expression wasn't anger, it was assessment, the kind that registers information without emotion. No one laughed after that, and no one needed to explain why. The joke itself wasn't memorable. Kobe Bryant wouldn't have been able to repeat it, word for word, even minutes later. What stayed with him was the ease with which it was delivered. The assumption behind it, the comfort. It revealed how quickly people forgot context when they believed familiarity gave them permission. Kobe had lived long enough in public to recognize this pattern. Admiration often turned into overconfidence. Respect softened into casualness. The line between acknowledgement and entitlement blurred quietly. He didn't resent it. He studied it. Moments like this exposed how others framed him when the lights were off. No one at the table rushed to fill the silence. That mattered. The instinct to laugh something away was checked. The restraint told Kobe more than the joke itself. It showed who understood the moment and who was still processing it. He didn't correct the server. He didn't clarify intent. Explanation would have reduced the moment to etiquette. Kobe wasn't interested in manners. He was interested in standards. Silence preserved the weight of what had just happened. The rest of the meal continued, but with a different rhythm. Conversation became more deliberate. Words were chosen carefully. The casual energy didn't return. Kobe remained composed, engaged, but observant. He let the shift settle naturally. To an outsider, nothing dramatic had occurred. Plates were cleared, drinks refilled, the night went on. But Kobe felt the recalibration internally. These were the moments that shaped how he moved through the world beyond basketball. The joke hadn't insulted him. It had revealed a misalignment, and misalignment, left unaddressed, always widened. Kobe didn't need to react immediately. He'd learned that the most effective responses often arrived later when they could be applied with precision. Kobe Bryant carried the moment with him long after the plates were cleared, not as irritation, but as data. He had learned that small social moments often revealed deeper truths than loud confrontations. The joke at the table wasn't about humor. It was about boundaries, where people assumed they could stand when familiarity blurred respect. The next morning, his routine didn't change on the surface: training, preparation, film. But internally something had tightened. Kobe became more deliberate with how he allowed access. Conversations shortened, responses became cleaner. He wasn't closing himself off. He was narrowing the margin for misunderstanding. He noticed how often people tried to lower standards through tone rather than intent. Casual jokes, light remarks, assumptions disguised as friendliness. Kobe didn't push back verbally. He adjusted behavior. Presence became firmer. Expectations clearer without explanation. Those around him felt it. Interactions became more measured. People chose words more carefully. Not because Kobe demanded it, but because the space around him no longer invited looseness. Respect returned without being requested. The lesson wasn't about offense. It was about maintenance. Standards, once achieved, didn't hold themselves. They required constant reinforcement, even in ordinary settings, especially there. Kobe understood that greatness wasn't only tested under pressure. It was tested in moments that felt small enough to ignore. He never ignored them. The joke had passed. The effect hadn't. It had sharpened how he moved through the everyday world. And that sharpening would matter later. The change didn't announce itself. It surfaced gradually, in how rooms responded when Kobe Bryant entered them. Conversations adjusted mid-sentence. Jokes softened before they landed. Familiarity retreated into awareness. No one could point to when it happened, only that it had. The moment at the table had recalibrated the perimeter around him, and that perimeter held. People closest to him noticed first. Interactions became more intentional. Requests were framed carefully. Assumptions were checked before being spoken. Kobe hadn't corrected anyone directly, but his presence no longer invited shortcuts. The standard was felt, not stated. This shift wasn't coldness, it was clarity. Kobe remained accessible, engaged, and present. What changed was tone. The casual layer peeled back, revealing respect beneath it. That respect didn't require reminders, because it was now the default. In meetings, comments were weighed more carefully. Humor still existed, but it knew its place. The room moved with more awareness, as if an invisible line had been drawn and collectively acknowledged. Kobe didn't watch for this. He expected it. He understood that boundaries worked best when they weren't defended. Defense implied weakness. Silence implied certainty. The joke had crossed a line once. That line didn't need reinforcement. It needed consistency. Over time, the shift stabilized. It stopped feeling like adjustment and became environment. Kobe moved through daily life without friction, not because he demanded deference, but because the terms were clear. What surprised him wasn't how quickly respect returned. It was how easily it had slipped before. The reminder was subtle but lasting. The table had been a small moment. The effect was structural. Looking back, the dinner would never be remembered for the food or the place. It would be remembered for how quickly a room learned something without being told. Kobe Bryant never mentioned the joke again. He didn't need to. Its purpose had already been fulfilled the moment no one laughed. The correction had happened in real time, without conflict or explanation. Kobe understood that respect didn't disappear through confrontation. It disappeared through comfort. The joke was a symptom, not a problem. Addressing the symptom loudly would have solved nothing. Letting it collapse under silence solved everything. The response wasn't emotional. It was architectural. In the days that followed, nothing dramatic happened. And that was the point. No tension, no awkwardness. Just a quieter awareness in how people interacted around him. The environment adjusted because the standard was no longer negotiable. It had been reasserted without force. This was how Kobe approached most things in life. He didn't overreact to small moments, but he never ignored them. He believed discipline applied everywhere, or it failed everywhere. The table mattered as much as the court, because both tested the same principle. Greatness, in his view, wasn't about dominance. It was about control of space, tone, and expectation. Once those were set, they didn't require maintenance through repetition. They held because they were understood. No one at that table would ever remember the exact joke, but everyone would remember the silence after it, and that silence would do more work than any response ever could. For Kobe Bryant, the moment passed quietly, but the standard it protected stayed exactly where it belonged.